Hello, it's Jamila, and I am hopping on to talk a little bit about fear versus confidence. And I'm just glad that I finally got an opportunity. It's almost 8 o'clock here in Vegas. I know that it's late for some folks on the East Coast, but hey, Bobby. But I've been busy all day with my 3-year-old and 1-year-old, so it took a long time for me to find the opportunity to finally be able to hop on and have this conversation. But I wanted to talk about fear versus confidence, because isn't it true that the thing that's holding you back from really feeling fully confident is fear? Now, what's interesting, hey, Yvonne. Now, what's interesting about fear, I keep getting all these notifications. The thing about fear is, I'm sure you've heard the adage, it's false evidence appearing real. So when you really think about that, if you examine the reasons why you're so resistant to something, and you really think about those reasons, they're usually not rational. They're usually not based in real-based truth, right? And so the problem is when we make decisions from fear, then we're holding back for essentially, oh, thank you, Bobby. We're holding back for essentially no reason whatsoever. So what are we afraid of? What are the fears? Why are we afraid to really show up and be confident? Hey, Zara, how are you? Let me get back on track. This is mom brain. You know what happens when something happens and then you lose your train of thought. But anyway, what's behind the fear of why we're not showing up confidently is, one, we're afraid of being judged, right? We're afraid of people saying little negative comments about us, and that we think we're, oh, they think they're better than me, or they think they're all that, or who does she think she is? All of that stuff. We're afraid that we're going to be judged if we really stand up and own who we are and behave confidently. We're afraid we're going to be judged. Second, we could be afraid that we're going to be rejected, like that we would actually lose some friendships or relationships. Or we might be afraid that if we put ourselves out there, show up as feeling confident in what we are and what we're able to do, that we're going to fail, that we're going to fall flat on our faces, and everyone's going to laugh and point at us and say, ha ha, I knew, you weren't this or you weren't that or whatever. So those are the fears, right? Yes. And so let's break it down, because I said false evidence appearing real. So what's false about those judgments that allegedly we're going to receive is that the people who are saying them, who are saying these negative things about us, their judgments don't have anything to actually do with us and who we are as people, but rather how they feel about themselves. Because see, when you show up confident and you show up sure of yourself, not false confidence or false conceit from the right shade of lipstick and a pair of heels, not talking about that. I'm talking about feeling good in your own skin, feeling confident in your abilities, in your knowledge, in your gifts, in your original thoughts, in your viewpoints, that you're not afraid to speak up and tell people what you think, feel, and believe. When you show up like that, people who don't have that degree of confidence in themselves will begin to try to tear you down to make themselves feel better. So those judgments, those snide comments, those negative remarks are not about you. They're not true. They're about that person and how that person needs to see you in order to make themselves feel better about who they are, or really who they're not, and who they're not is you. Because there's always a degree of jealousy there, or sometimes worse, envy, when people respond to us that way. When they come at us that way, when we're really just trying to do good in the world and put ourselves out there in a way that allows us to help others or support them or whatever. But when we show up confident in our own abilities and our own mind, people who don't understand that because they don't have that capacity within them, or they haven't embraced it, or they're not self-aware, they will be the ones who will make those snide and negative comments in order to make them feel better. It's not about you. So I say that to say that those judgments are not coming from people whose opinions should matter. Now, what's funny is a lot of times they'll come from people who are close to you. And that kind of leads me to my next point, because the fear one is being judged. The second fear is being rejected. And so if you were rejected, that would mean that you would lose relationships, that you could lose friendships. Well, guess what? They never really were your friends anyway then. They were only interested in the version of you that they wanted to see, or they were only cool with you until you decided to become bigger, more, to grow, to become, to emerge. They weren't cool with that because that's not what they're trying to do. That's not where they're at. So they want to keep you in a box so that they don't feel like they have to, oh my goodness, don't mind the lights. I'm in my daughter's room and my husband installed the fan, but the light bulbs are not dimmable and they need to be dimmable. So please pardon me if you see them flickering. That's what's going on. It's anyway. So yeah, it is sad. It is sad because here it is. You're thinking this person is your friend. You're trusting them, probably sharing intimate details of your life and experiences with them. But then when it all is said and done, you find out that the whole time they've really been taking your inventory, that the whole time they haven't really been being honest with you about how they think and feel about things. You discover that they actually don't think as highly of you as you thought that they did, and that the way that you feel about them actually is not how they feel about you. You've been showing up 100%, being and doing and giving to them, and yet they have never really felt that way about you because they didn't have that within them, and you, for whatever reason, couldn't see it. But once you decided to break out of the box that they needed to keep you in, that's when they showed up and were like, well, you know what? If it's this, that, and the other thing, then this, that. And it's like, okay. And you being the good person you are, oh, well, my goodness, what did I say? What did I do? You didn't say or do anything. You were just being yourself. You weren't being rude. You weren't being obnoxious. You weren't being conceited. You just decided that, hello, as a human being who is imperfect, it is my job to constantly and consistently be engaged in growth and development and improvement and trying to become better than I was yesterday. And see, if they can't wrap their mind around that, if they can't get with that program, then they are not the kind of people that are going to be able to roll with you. And so they got to roll right off. They got to roll right off, because here's the thing. Where you're going, they can't come because they can't even figure out why you want to go there. Yes. Yep, Bobby. They're like, ooh, you've changed. But it's not like, oh, girl, you're doing good. Wow, look at you. It's not like that's like, who do you think you are? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, no problem. I'm good. I'm so good, right? So that's how you have to get with that one, okay? So again, like I said, number one, fear being judged. We broke that down. That second one, fear being rejected. We broke that down. Goodbye. You really obviously weren't interested in being in my life for the right reasons in the first place. And then the third one is, the third reason why we are afraid of showing up confidently and putting ourselves out there. And this is very important, whether we are pursuing a career, trying to progress in our career, or if we have our own business, where essentially when we have our own business, we are the business, right? People are really buying us. And if we're not showing up as ourselves or being confident in who we are, or unable to really share because we're scared of all these different things, then it's really going to be hard for us to really see that huge burst of success that we're kind of striving for, because we're not playing to our strengths, and we are our strength, if that makes sense. So the last one, failure. Okay, so guess what? There is no such thing as failure. There is no such thing as failure. Only learning. Only learning. So even if you did show up confidently and share your business, or ask for that promotion and ask for that raise, and you get told no, That's not like some dejection, like, oh my goodness, maybe I'm not as great as I thought I was. Maybe I'm not as, talented as I believed, and you start doubting yourself. Don't go down that rabbit's hole. Hey, I've been there, and I'm sure you have too. Don't go there. Don't go there. Just learn from that experience. So what can I take from this that the next time will be different? Do you see what I'm saying? Drop in the chat if you follow me, if you understand where I'm going with this. So if there is no failure and it's only learning, if you put yourself out there confidently and the naysayer or the one who's judging you decides to show back up and say, see, I told you so. Well, let me say this. How far has the I told you so person ever gotten in their life? Where are they at? Where are they at in their life? They're so busy sitting around trying to take your inventory and tell you, see, I told you so. You shouldn't have done that. I knew it wasn't going to work. Okay, but where you at with yours? Where's your thriving business? Where are you, in your expertise that you get to give me an opinion on what it is that I'm trying to do to grow and do and be better? Do you see what I'm saying? So even that failure, it's not failure, it's learning for you to do better next time. Or even within the same space, just the next opportunity or the next project, whatever it is, you've learned, and now you're going to be even better the next time when you show up. But the naysayers, when you fail, will try to say, oh, you just fell flat on your face. Like I said, I told you so. Go ahead and say, I told you so. So what? They want to keep you again in that little box that they need to keep you in order to feel good about themselves. Okay? So yeah, they're going to tell you I told you so, but look at where their life is at. What did playing safe, never pursuing anything, never trying anything, never being anything do for them? How happy are they? How happy are they? If they are miserable, which they usually are, if they got the nerve to sit up there and tell you, see, I told you so, I knew it wasn't going to work. Excuse me? So yeah, so again, false evidence appearing real. Even that failure, it's not failure, it's learning. And even those people who want to try to confirm that, oh, they knew you weren't going to make it, their opinions really don't count, because who are they that you should care about their opinion or thoughts on your life? They don't get a vote. You're a grown adult. They don't get a vote. Okay? So you never want to allow people who are still in the box, who are not self-aware, who are small-minded, to keep you from stepping into and owning your own power and your own confidence. And let me be clear. When I'm speaking about your power and your confidence, I am speaking about your talents, your gifts, your abilities, those things that you're afraid to share, those things that you downplay, that you diminish, that you don't speak about because you don't want to make the person who doesn't have that mentality feel bad about who they are, as if somehow you showing up as the best version of you is a judgment against them. And see, that's about them, not you. Oh, Zara, okay, how do you get what I do? Oh, you figured it out. Okay, so you hopped off the video. Okay, but I'm assuming you can still hear, so I'll keep talking to that point. So you brought up a good point, which is what I was talking about, where we can feel that sense of rejection or that feeling like we're being judged. And where that is a false evidence appearing real is that individual, if they're really our friend, if they really love us and they support us, if we're not doing something that's a matter of life and death, that's dangerous in nature, then there's really no reason why we shouldn't expect their love and support in what it is that we're doing. And so when we don't get that from them, then that's a clue that maybe the relationship between you and them is not where you thought it was, that maybe they really don't feel about you the way that you thought they did. But really the bottom line is it's how they feel about themselves. And so if she's maybe feeling trapped or like she didn't have that option to go back, she may on some deep level be jealous, or she may have the belief that you ought to stay home, like you're abandoning your kid if you're going back to work. And so that could be it too. So it could be some jealousy or even some judgment there. But the point is how are you going to allow that to affect you? Are you going to let that affect how you feel about the decision that you've made about your life, which is not a matter of right and wrong, but rather a matter of personal choice? You're not doing anything illegal. You're not doing anything immoral. So it's okay that this is what you have decided to do for your life. You feel good about it. You want it. And for that, she should celebrate and support you. So I'm just, for those of you hopping on, I was just responding to Zara. She was just on video, and she had mentioned how, she's going back to work, but she has a friend who stays home, and the friend kind of made her feel some kind of way about the fact that she was going back to work and she was feeling really good about it. And what starts to happen when we allow outside opinions into our personal business is we begin to question ourselves, to doubt ourselves, to trust ourselves. And we begin to feel like, well, maybe I'm getting it wrong, or maybe I'm not making the right decision. But if the person hasn't actually said loud and clear with like the reasons exactly why they think this is a bad idea, because sometimes it's from a place of love. Sometimes our friends they ought to love us, right? So sometimes it's from a place of love where they want us to avoid something that could be detrimental. So if she said, hey, are you sure about that because of X, Y, and Z? You know what I'm saying? That's a different conversation. But it's another where maybe it's just a matter of helping her to see things from your point of view. But if it's really an underlying jealousy or an underlying judgment against you, well, then that's kind of a clue or a red flag, like, she may not be exactly who I thought she was, or I may have grown and outgrown her, and I just hadn't noticed or picked up on it until now when I'm really getting ready to go from this place and she's not ready to roll with me. So thank you so much for hopping on there, Zara, and sharing that. So again, the fear versus confidence, for those of you that hopped on later, the fear versus confidence is, it's fear that's holding us back from being confident. We're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of being rejected. We're afraid of failing. And as I said, the false evidence appearing real, that is breaking those three fears down. Number one, being judged, the people judging us, who cares, right? That's about them, not us. Secondly, if they reject us, they were never our real friends in the first place. Okay? Because if someone is rejecting you from something, that it's one thing if somebody decides to do something totally crazy, totally wrong, that you absolutely can't support from a moral position, whatever. That's one thing where you're like, well, we just can't be friends. It's like, I'll use a very silly analogy with you. If you're a Star Wars fan, do you remember when Anakin became Darth Vader and him and Padme were on that planet that was all fire? And he starts talking to her about going to the dark side. She's like, you going someplace I can't come, I can't follow you. So if your friend is going somewhere like that, then yes, that would be like an appropriate place or time when you would maybe, be like, we have to go our separate ways. But you simply making a choice and a decision to grow and become and to shift and to change and to do things differently, and really in your eyes, bettering yourself, bettering your life, bettering your family, they don't get a vote. So they either support you or they don't. And if they don't, well, that's going to cause some problems in the friendship. Okay. And then again, that fear of failure, it's not failure. There's no such thing as failure, only learning. Because now you have gotten some information, some tools, some experience under your belt that you're going to use to do it so much better the next time, so that you get even higher to wherever it is that you're trying to go or grow, and really see success much faster. The more you try and take risks and make mistakes and fail, the faster you're going to reach your goal and the faster you're going to start seeing success. it's interesting because, as a coach, in order to be a good coach, I have to remain coachable. And so I myself am always working with coaches. And I have a coach, and she did a very interesting exercise. Where are we at? Friday, yesterday, in our session. And the exercise was, if I wasn't afraid, I would. And just keep saying, asking yourself that question and writing down all the things that you would do, if you weren't afraid, and then do them. Again, as long as they're legal, for good and all those things, because I'm just going to assume that that's the truth, because honestly, the type of women that I work with, the women that I'm connected to, are all good, upstanding citizens with wonderful intentions and a desire to really show up in life in a greater degree than what they're currently doing. Now, what's interesting is this topic of being afraid of really being confident or stepping out confidently. I'm actually going to be covering this coming Wednesday, June 30th at 7 o'clock in my free masterclass, Who Am I Anyway? Where we're going to talk about rediscovering your gifts, getting in touch with them. We're going to talk about forgiving yourself, because that can be a huge barrier to being confident. And then also shifting from fear into confidence. We're going to talk about that too. So to register for that free masterclass, you can just click the link in my bio at Coach Jamila LV. And we're going to be talking about all of the things that we've kind of touched on here in this video, as well as the things that I just mentioned. Now, I'm also really excited to share with you that when it comes to this topic of confidence and really stepping out there and being yourself fully, when I say that, what I don't mean is, for example, I don't, I'm not real big on like sharing the minutia of my everyday life. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't really read that type of information online or in social media. I don't have time, number one, and number two, it doesn't bring me any sort of, it's just not interesting to me. And so I typically don't share that type of minutia detail. So when I say showing up at being yourself, being confident, I don't mean, hey, start showing yourself in your rollers eating your pancakes. That's being real. No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm simply talking about you feeling confident and owning everything that's wonderful, good, and great about you, what you're working on, what you're becoming, what you're embracing, and owning that, and not being afraid that people are going to look at you like you're trying to be too much, or like you're trying to speak too loud, or whatever it is that they need to think and say and do. Because the truth of the matter is, as women, we're conditioned that that's what we're supposed to do, right? We aren't supposed to speak up, okay? And have an original thought, have an opinion. We're supposed to be a certain way. And when we're not, then we're judged as bossy. We're judged as, all these negative things. When the fact is, being assertive is not the same as being rude. Being confident is not the same as being conceited or arrogant, because conceit and arrogance is false confidence, okay? And false confidence is based on flimsy things like the right shade of lipstick and a pair of heels. When you're confident, it means you know who you are. You know your integrity. You know your gifts. You know your talents. You know your original thoughts. You know your viewpoints, and you are willing to stand in them. And not saying that you are unreasonable. You're certainly open to discussion. But you are not going to agree just for the sake of agreement. Do you understand what I'm saying? That you are not going to pretend like you're not as awesome in a particular area as you are, because you don't want to outshine somebody else or stand out too much. Okay? It's like this negative connotation around the fact that if you show up and stand out, you're somehow pursuing something that, like, you're trying to be famous, or you're trying to be this or that. It's not what we're talking about. It's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about showing up in your pancakes and pajamas. I am talking about you feeling good in your own skin and knowing that no matter what anybody else thinks, you are still okay with you. Because what they think doesn't matter. How you feel about you is what matters, and how you feel about you. It's not contingent upon the approval of folks who don't get a vote. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So in light of all that, as I mentioned, I'm having a masterclass where we're going to delve into all this. It's totally free. It's next Wednesday, June 30th at 7 o'clock. You can click the link in my bio to register. But I also want to tell you, around this whole subject, I have actually created and designed, I can say birthed, because it's something I'm extremely proud of, is my new 12-week program. And it's called Embrace Your Power and Confidence. It is a group experience limited to only 10 women that launches on July 1st. So I would encourage you, if you're interested or curious about that, that you go ahead and click the link in my bio to schedule a consultation. Don't wait, because it launches July 1st and registration ends July 7th. Now, let me just share with you some of the things that are going to be covered in this program. Again, it's 12 weeks and it's called Embrace Your Power and Confidence. And it's on everything that I've been talking about this past week on these lives and what I will continue to talk about. But we're going to cover in this program rediscovering what's great about you. Because sometimes we've gone out into life, pursuing a career just for the sake of what would allow us to pay the bills, right? We didn't necessarily identify or indulge what actual natural talents, gifts, and abilities that we had, because at some point we lost them, right? Because it just became about survival, or it just became about something else other than us having an opportunity to focus on that which we are really naturally inclined towards. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about improving your self-esteem and self-worth, because if you don't feel good about yourself, if you don't recognize your own value, then you're absolutely not going to show up confidently in any area of your life. You're always going to be second guessing yourself and feeling like, I don't know. Okay. And then we're also going to talk about, within this program, forgiving yourself, because this is critical and key. Because if you cannot forgive yourself for the mistakes that you've made, some of the choices and decisions that you've made, then it's going to be very hard for you to grow and move forward and to become the woman that is right there waiting and brewing inside you, waiting to show up. You just got to get out of your own way. And so you have to forgive yourself so you can have that release and be free to grow from that place, okay? We're also going to be talking about reprogramming your internal belief system, or your limiting beliefs, okay? The box that we've talked about that you got put in by your parents' beliefs, by yourself, by life, whatever. We're going to be talking about finding those and reprogramming them, so now your thinking works for you instead of against you. And then we're also going to cover solidifying your new mindset, because what good is it if you do all this work, you reprogram your beliefs and all these things, if it doesn't stick? So we also talk about how you can implement daily practices, routines, etc. into your life, so that everything that we do in the program, hey, Trey, so that everything we do in the program is cemented and solidified, so that you really are in a place of power and confidence at the end of those 12 weeks, okay? So again, that is my Embrace Your Power and Confidence program. It's 12 weeks. It's limited to 10 women. It launches July 1st. I'm going to be going into a little bit more detail on it in my masterclass on June 30th at 7 o'clock. You can register by clicking the link in my bio. But the fact is that you don't have to wait until then to talk to me about the program. You can go ahead and schedule a consultation, because it is only limited to 10 women. And I can answer your questions, of course, on a call. Okay. So I want to thank you all for showing up on this live and allowing me to talk to you on this topic of fear versus confidence. If you have any other questions or thoughts, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm not going to hop off immediately. I'll wait for a moment. Zara, I don't know if you're still there. You said that was a spelling error, intersected. So I'm not really sure what exactly the word was you were trying to say. But Trey, we were talking about fear versus confidence, and how the one thing that's holding us back from being confident is a fear of being judged, rejected, or actually failing, and how those three reasons really are not valid, because when we are judged, those people's opinions don't really count. And when we are rejected, those friendships, we realize were not ones that were really our friends. And then if we do fail, it's not really failure, it's learning. Okay. So if there's no other questions or comments or anything in the chat, then I'm going to go ahead and hop off. I'll give it just a few more seconds because sometimes it seems like there's a delay here on Instagram. So I'll just wait a moment if anybody has any comments or questions or additional thoughts they'd like to share. Yeah, there is a delay. You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching this, being here with me live. I appreciate it, this love and support. And if you're watching the recorded version on IGTV, thank you for watching. Please like this video, share it with someone that you think needs to hear it. Please follow me at Coach Jamila LV and make sure you click the link in that bio. Register for my free masterclass. Schedule that free consultation so that we can get you on the road to embracing your power and confidence and really becoming the woman that you know you're meant to be. Okay, here's Zara. She popped back on. Oh, good. I'm glad, Zara. Or Zara. Oh, why do I keep doing that? Forgive me, because I'm Jamila, and I really am work hard to say people's names correctly because it matters. So, Zara, I'm sorry about that. So, yeah, I'm glad that you got a lot out of this, and I'm glad it all resonated with you. Did you have any other questions or comments or thoughts before I pop off here? Not pop off, drop off in the video. I'll give it a moment because it's like I said, there's a delay here. So you could be typing and then I'm ending the video and you're like, no. But I'll tell you this, if you all do have any questions or comments, maybe you didn't want to put in the comments. Okay. All right. Thank you. You're welcome to DM me, of course, as well. And so again, I want to thank you for being here with me, watching, whether it's here now live or the recording on IGTV. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. All right. I'll see you later. Have a good night.